the Ordinary Council meeting of the 26th of May 2026 at 6:30 p.m. and welcome all those in attendance. I wish to inform you that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded. The video will appear on the Council's website and YouTube channel. The public gallery will not be recorded unless accidentally, and only a participant in the meeting, namely a person asking questions at public question time, will be live streamed and recorded. If you wish to ask a question at public question time, your voice and image will be recorded and live streamed. If you do not consent to your voice and image being recorded and live streamed to the public, then you'll need to leave the meeting. By staying at this meeting, you consent to your voice and image being live streamed and recorded. No other electronic, visual, audio recording device or instrument can be used to record the proceedings of the meeting without prior written permission from the Council, as in the City of Belmont Standing Orders local law. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional owners of this land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I further acknowledge their cultural heritage, beliefs, connection and relationship with this land which continues today. Councillor Davis, would you please read aloud the affirmation of civic duty and responsibility on behalf of elected members present, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I make this affirmation in good faith and declare that I will dutifully, faithfully, honestly and with integrity fulfil the duties of my office for all the people in the City of Belmont according to the best of my judgment and ability. I will observe the City's Code of Conduct and standing orders to ensure efficient, effective and orderly decision making within this forum.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Apologies and leave of absence. I have apologies from Councillor Marks, and we have apologies from Mr Christie, Chief Executive Officer, and Mr Murphy, Director of Infrastructure Services. There are no councillors recording have a leave of absence for this meeting. Declarations of interest. 3.1, financial interest. With the Coordinator of Governance, please advise of any financial declarations made to date.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No financial interests have been declared.
Thank you. 3.2, disclosure of interest affecting impartiality. With the Coordinator of Governance, please advise any disclosures of interest made to date.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And a proximity interest has been declared by Councillor Sessions for item 12.1, draft local planning scheme, as the property is proposed to be upzoned in this scheme. For declarations of impartiality, Councillor Davis has declared an interest in item 12.2, asset management strategy, as they are a member of the Belmont Oasis Leisure Centre. For 12.3, active recreation strategy, Councillor Davis has declared an interest as they are a member of the Belmont Oasis Leisure Centre. For item 12.3, active recreation strategy, Councillor Sessions has declared an interest as they are a volunteer member of the Belmont Junior Football Club Executive Committee. And for item 14.2, the tender for the management of the Belmont Oasis Leisure Centre, Councillor Sessions has declared an interest as they regularly attend Belmont Oasis and is a member of the Perth Redbacks. And Councillor Davis has declared an interest in item 14.2, tender for the management of the Belmont Oasis Leisure Centre, as they are a member of Belmont Oasis Leisure Centre.
Is there any more?
Apologies, Mr Mayor. There is one more. A declaration has been received from yourself as on item, apologies, 12.5, as you have previously provided input and contributed to the changes in the policies.
Thank you very much. Announcements 4.1. I have one announcement. I'm pleased to announce that the City of Belmont was well represented at the annual WaterWise Awards that recognise organisations shaping water-wise communities and using water more efficiently. Our Manager of Parks, Leisure and Environment, Mr Steve Reeves, received the 2026 WaterWise Leadership Award for his long-term strategic direction and for deriving an innovation in local government. His team has delivered a 15% reduction in irrigation water use and transformed more than 44,000 square metres of public space through WaterWise streetscapes and verge gardens. Our streetscape approach centres on WaterWise planting and designed to support resilient, low-maintenance landscapes. The team have started their winter plantings on streetscapes throughout the city for 2026, and I know residents have been loving the bright, beautiful and water-wise plantings the team has delivered over the recent years, bringing colour to our streets and brightening Belmont through winter. Congratulations, Steve, on this very well deserved award. I wish to draw attention to the disclaimer notice contained within the agenda document and advise members of the public that any decisions made at this meeting tonight can be revoked pursuant to the Local Government Act of 1995. Therefore, members of the public should not rely on any decisions until formal notification in writing from the City has been received. 4.3. Declarations by members who have not given due consideration to all matters contained in the business papers presently before the meeting. Are there any declarations being made by councillors? There are none. Public question time. Response to questions taken on notice. Response to questions taken on notice from the ordinary council meeting of the 28th of April 2026 are noted in the agenda for Ms Hollands on behalf of Belmont Residents and Ratepayers Action Group, Ms Hollands herself, Mr Cardoso and Mr Cardoso on behalf of Belmont East Ward Connect. It is 6:37 p.m. and I open public question time and draw attention of the public gallery to the rules of public question time as written in the question time form. I remind members of the public of the Standing Orders local law requirements for members of the public to extend due courtesy and respect to both councillors and employees. Please do not use inappropriate, objectionable or untruthful expressions or expressions that reflect adversely on the character or actions of councillors or employees. If any expression is deemed inappropriate, you'll be directed to withdraw the expression and apologise. If you do not comply, it will have to end your question. Lastly, I remind and caution everyone present at the meeting to refrain from making defamatory statements, especially as the proceedings are live streamed. Under the City's Standing Orders Local Law 2017, members of the public can ask up to 2 questions and have a maximum of 2 minutes per question for the question to be asked and answered. As presiding member tonight, I will allow up to 4 questions per person. Please note that sub-questions being questions within questions will be counted towards the total number of questions permitted. The question number and time limit is to allow fair and equal opportunity for everyone to ask their questions before the proceedings continue. At the moment, I have 6 members of the public who have given prior notice to ask questions, them being Ms Hollands on behalf of Bragg, Marta Condoso on behalf of Belmont East Ward Connect, Marta Condoso himself, Christopher Reid, Luigi Rosalind. Is there anybody else that wishes to ask a question? Paul Hitt, Janet G. Is that everybody? Okay. Please state your name and suburb only. Please ask your questions, noting you have 2 minutes per question for the question to be asked and answered. Ms Hollands, please come forward to ask your personal questions first.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. Firstly, I do not give consent to be on camera and any perceived consents under duress. So, great questions. We've been trying to find out about a confidential code of conduct matter and the lack of detail recorded in the minutes, as the Act has apparently been tightened for confidential items to require more detail than previously required. Section 11C of the Administration Regulations reads, details of each motion moved at the meeting, the mover and the outcome of the motion, and D, details of each decision made at the meeting. The City has responded as follows at the last OCM. The City of Belmont has complied with the requirements of the legislation in regards to this confidential matter that was considered behind closed doors in accordance with Section 523 of the Local Government Act 1995 WA. I did not ask if you had complied with 5.23 as that relates to meetings closed to the public. I specifically asked about minutes relating to the item. As 11C and D make no reference that confidential items are excluded from being detailed in the minutes, in my opinion, you've not complied with the minute requirements. Back in December 2022, there was a code of conduct matter, and the minutes version, which I have downloaded, was quite detailed. For example, it stated as follows, that Council 1, note the complaint alleged breach from submitted, a form submitted on 31st of October 2022, as set out in confidential attachment 1411. 2, note the independent investigators report on the alleged breach as set out in confidential attachment 14.1.2. In 2 other separate motions, it went on to say that the complaint had been substantiated and B, no further action was required. So my question, why is this code of conduct matter in December 22 detailed and the latest one provided no information? Given there's no consistency, was it favouritism towards one councillor or some reason to not give all this in the minutes as per the regulations? To say, so I don't have to come back asking at the next meeting and you say it's not necessary to give detailed, back like you did in December 2022, can you please provide the section that exempts confidential items for complying with 11C and D of the regulations?
Mr Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe this question has been addressed in previous forums, in the previous Ordinary Council meeting, and I've got nothing further to add.
I've asked for the section, Mr Acting CEO, and that hasn't been provided.
Next question, please. He's heard you. Do you have anything else to add?
Mr. Mayor, I believe that the same question was asked in relation to the reference to this section of the Act.
Well,
Next
you
question.
actually didn't, but however. Can I just please give, before my next question, give these handouts so that the councillors can see this question I'm going to ask? Would that be possible?
Would an officer please be able to get that, please? Thank you. Maybe you could skip a question and go back to that one there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so I'll go to the third question on that one then. At last week's ABF, there was a deputation in respect of live streaming that included statements on the lack of reporting of deputations and submissions in the minutes of the ABF. The Mayor then piped up with a suggestion to mandate residents putting in written deputations and submissions before the meeting. So my question for you, Mr Mayor, I assume you know all the standing orders, so what I'd like to know is why you would want to mandate something when under the standing orders we do not have to give our detailed submission or deputation. We just have to apply to have it before the meeting to the CEO or to you during the meeting. So you'd be actually bringing in a rule that's not part of the standing orders. So why would you suggest that?
It was just an idea that came to my head. It is not compulsory. But again, if you want your information to be recorded, it's there. Why not staple to the pro forma? It makes life very easy. It was just a suggestion. You're right. It can't be done compulsory. It's not. Yes, you're right. Thank you.
Okay, so back to question 2 with the handout. On the Department of Local Government's website, there's a section on live streaming of council meetings. Section 12 of this document, which is headed Public Access and Notices, states that the following in case of the video broadcast and recordings. Members of the public do not need to be visible but do need to be heard if they are participating in the meeting, for example, public question time. Now, at least 3 times I've asked about what section of the Act or regulation states that the public must be on camera, and the response has always been that the meeting is live streamed. I've continually said that's not an answer, as it doesn't provide the section just to comment. In response to my question last meeting, the following section was provided when the question was once again asked. Section 14I2B requires a Band 1 local government to provide a quality of a recording sufficient to allow persons to effectively watch and listen to the deliberation and communications that are part of the meeting's proceedings. The proceedings include question time at council meetings. This regulation, as worded in the minutes tonight, have been added to. The line that states the proceeding include public question time is not part of the regulations, and in my opinion, this could be misleading to both councillors and any member of the public listening to the live stream or reading the minutes. Not only is there a recording of the minister stating some councils do not have residents on camera to protect their privacy, I've now given you a document which the Department of Local Government provides information as to what I've expected when doing policies, and the actual regulations make no such statement that requires members of the public to be on camera. The only conclusion I have here is that the decision of councillors, as it stands at the moment, is that they want the residents to be public figures, which potentially excludes some people from asking questions. So my question, council are voting on this tonight, and they've probably either seen the minutes or alternatively have been told by the administration live streaming means residents are on camera, including public question time, as provided in tonight's minutes. If the proceedings include question time at a council meeting, please either provide the specific section which it states it includes public question times, as I can't find it and I don't believe it exists, or alternatively advise council that the additional words as minuted, and I quote, the proceedings include question time at council meetings do not exist in that regulation.
Mr Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy for the Director Corporate and Governance to add to it as well, but there is a provision in the regs under Part 14 which talks about the quality of video and audio to record deliberations and communication. I haven't seen the source of the paper that Ms. Hollins has just handed up, but I do note it does state it's a guide. Conversely to what's written here, that members of the public do not need to be visible but need to be heard, is that it is up to council to make the policy decision as to whether or not members of the public or members participating in public question time should be on video, and that's for council to decide tonight.
Mr Lowe, you were a little bit soft when I was listening to that, but could you just clarify, are you now saying that according to your research or whatever you've got there, that it's up to the council and the residents actually don't have to be on camera for public question time? Is that what you're saying?
Do you have to clarify, Mr Acting CEO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the provision in the regs spell out that the quality of video and audio has to be sufficient to record those participating in deliberations and communication. So that infers that anyone who's participating in communication in public question time should be video and audio recorded.
Well, I actually have asked which section states that that includes public question time, because it's not there.
I'll go to the Director of Corporate and Governance.
And the document as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to support the Acting CEO's commentary. Certainly, Regulation 14H3 talks about electronic meetings. It talks about that the broadcast must be on the official website of the council, etc., and the broadcast must be both visual and audio, and the quality, as the CEO has indicated, must be sufficient to allow persons effectively to watch and listen to deliberations and communications. And certainly public question time is part of the communications with the elected members and the council. And that's the reason why we say that participants at public question time should be captured by live streaming. We certainly don't capture any of the members of the public, and specifically, as Ms. Holland points out, We certainly don't capture any of those, but certainly those who want to participate, and the broadcast must be both visual and audio, and certainly not just audio, and certainly public question time is part of the communications with the council.
Thank you. Next question.
Okay, and my last question on that one. You haven't actually stated where it says, though, that that includes public question time. Is it there or isn't it?
Director of Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Live stream starts from the moment the Mayor says it's opened and to the moment the Mayor says the meeting is closed and live stream is ended, unless, of course, we go behind closed doors, and then only the audio is retained, not the visual, not the live stream. So everything that's caught between the opening of the meeting and the closing of the meeting, including public question time, needs to be captured under the regulation I've just quoted.
Your
I
break
think
questions.
perhaps we need to get the Director a copy of that document I passed around. Okay, my personal questions. There's a lot of shopping trolleys about the place, and generally parts of the city are looking pretty untidy. Can I please have a breakdown of how many shopping trolleys have been confiscated in this financial year and how much revenue has been raised with fines for the shops who have not gone and collected their trolleys and left them scattered all over Belmont?
Acting Chief Executive Officer, I guess we'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you, Mr
Yep.
Mayor. We'll take that on notice.
Yep, okay.
Next question. Thank you.
Currently, the city is working on a solution on the traffic rat running in the Redcliffe area. Stanton Road was the main priority, but Durban Street has been neglected at this time. The increase in traffic recently in Durban Street has been significant, and it's something Bragg has been banging on about for years. With the closure of Belvedere Street, the through traffic using Durban has increased dramatically to the point that when I've been in a queue of about 30 plus cars waiting to turn left onto Epsom, it's been quicker for me to go back to Hardy, down Great Eastern traffic lights and turn right into Epsom, at the Epsom lights to get to my house. One of the issues is that most vehicles seem to turn right from Durban into Epsom wanting to go towards the airport, and then the left cars can't go because there's no room. So my question, what sort of time frame are we looking at, and how many years away will it be until something is done with Durban, as it's only going to get worse with more through traffic, as I predicted, with which amounts to almost a permanent closure of traffic in Belvedere Street, given that once the precinct upstate is finished, it will be one lane with buses, bikes, cars and pedestrians, and a 30-kilometre speed limit, so it will no longer be carting, in my opinion, traffic from Redcliffe to, say, Belmont.
I believe our officers are working on Durban, but I'll go to the Acting Director of Infrastructure Services, Mr Boylan.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. We'll have to take that one on notice.
Thank you. And my second question on that, is there any way we could look at an interim measure of somehow making it 2 lanes at the Epsom junction heading towards the airport, a left and a right lane, so at least residents are not blocked in their driveways with cars piling up down the street?
So you're saying on Durban?
Yeah, because you can't turn, you know, there's only one room for one lane. Is there a way of allowing it to be both there?
Acting Director of Infrastructure Service, Mr Boylan.
Again, through you, Mr Mayor, we'll have to take that one on notice.
Okay, thank you.
Cardoso, on behalf of Belmont East Ward Connect.
Martin Cardozo, Redcliffe. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, city officers and members of the gallery. Firstly, I'd like to thank the IT team for providing clarification in relation to the YouTube closed captions. Your Worship, these questions relate to the city's current public participation framework at agenda briefing forums. I think many ordinary residents would reasonably expect that if the city creates a public participation process of this nature, verbal participation would remain genuinely accessible and not become dependent on preparing formal written material beforehand. Question 1. The May 2026 Agenda Briefing Forum matrix states, currently a member of the public gallery is not required to provide the public submission time and deputation pro forma. Does the City therefore acknowledge that written deputations and submissions remain optional under the current framework?
Obviously, yes.
Thank you. Question 2. I do apologise because it does reflect similar to what Lisa's just mentioned. Question 2. Under the City's current framework, can a resident still make a verbal deputation or submission at an agenda briefing forum without providing written material beforehand?
Yes, but obviously if you provide it, if you've got the pro forma that you filled in, it makes it easier to capture what you've said.
Question 3. Can the City require deputations and submissions to be provided fully in writing beforehand without first amending the standing orders?
I need to get clarification on that. Director of Corporate and Governance.
I got an idea this question's been asked and answered already at the ABF. However, no, we can't mandate written submissions and deputations.
Thank you. There's no recording of that question. That's part of the problem. Question 4. Would requiring deputations and submissions to be fully prepared in writing beforehand create a participation barrier for residents who may not be literate, confident writing formally, or who only decide to participate shortly before the meeting?
Yes, but recently, for as long as I can remember, people have come with their piece of paper and read from it. So I don't see a barrier there, but yes, it would be. For some people, it could be.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next set of questions.
Please
Your
go
Worship, these questions relate to the relationship between verbal participation, record keeping and the public record at agenda briefing forums. I think many members of the community would reasonably expect that if residents and advocates speak publicly before council decisions, some public record of what was said would survive afterwards. Question 1. At the May 2026 agenda briefing forum, the matrix records whether speakers supported or opposed the officer recommendation despite no detail of the verbal contribution itself appearing publicly recorded. What process does the City use to characterise or interpret verbal deputations for inclusion within the matrix?
Director of Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to ask Mr Cardozo just to reread his question. I just missed the first part.
Sure. At the May 2026 agenda briefing forum, the matrix records whether speakers supported or opposed the officer recommendation, despite no detail of the verbal contribution itself appearing publicly recorded. What process does the City use to characterise or interpret verbal deputations for inclusion within the matrix?
Director of Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't think we don't have a process. People come and present their submission or deputation, full stop. We don't ask them to speak for or against. That's solely the prerogative of the elected members when they come to the OCM, when they debate the issue. When people come to make a submission or deputation, they just speak to the item, and it's up to them whether they support or oppose the item. It's nothing to do with the administration or the council.
Next question, thank you.
The reason I asked that, sorry, just for clarification, the reason I asked that is when I submitted my form, I didn't actually tick whether or not I opposed or supported the item, and it was just interpreted that I opposed it. So I was just wondering on what basis that was completed. That was the question. That I don't seek any further response. Question 2. The City's record management policy, CP 43, refers to records capturing evidence of communications, decisions and actions. Does the City consider the current agenda briefing forum framework consistent with that policy where substantive verbal participation may not survive in any public identifiable form?
Director of Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This question has been asked and answered a number of times at previous council meetings, and I think response has been the same, that ABFs are not formal council meetings, and therefore they're not recorded verbatim or any other form of recording other than via the matrix.
Thank you. Next question.
Question 3. Does the city's current public record framework preserve any substantive content of verbal deputations and submissions made at agenda briefing forums?
Director of Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, this has been asked and answered a number of times. We don't record verbal and as part of the minutes, but as the Mayor's indicated, we do encourage people to put something in writing, and noting that the main participants have always written out, they can certainly attach it to the pro forma and submit it as part of their submission at the beginning, and then read out their pro forma. That would be captured, but we certainly don't capture verbal comments.
Sure. Thank you. This last question is quite important, so if we could probably just, it's in relation to FOI. If substantive verbal deputations and submissions are not preserved within the city's record-keeping framework, how can members of the public later seek access under FOI to participation that no longer exists as an identifiable record? So if people come and speak, there's no verbal record, no summary, no record at all of what they say, and it occurred at a public meeting, how can someone then apply under FOI to obtain that what was said? It's just not possible.
Director of
like
Corporate and Governance.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As noted in my previous responses, I think we don't record verbatim minutes, as Mr Cardozo is aware, and certainly aware of the last 6 months of questioning on this particular topic. And this is one of the reasons why we encourage people to provide a copy prior to the meeting of their submission or deputation, as the Mayor has indicated. If it's not captured, it can't be FOI'd.
Is that a problem? Oh, sorry. I'm
sorry,
done.
not debating.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We move on to Christopher Reid.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Chris Reid. I live in Kewdale and have been an owner-occupier there for the past 36 years. My home directly adjoins a city-owned vacant lot. Yesterday, I formally emailed the Chief Executive Officer, Mayor and Councillors an urgent settlement proposal regarding a long-standing property boundary and structural encroachment dispute affecting this vacant lot. This offer seeks to protect my permanent paved walkway, garden beds and urban canopy, which have been long established since 1992 in total good faith. This issue has now been ongoing for more than 12 months, causing a significant and escalating financial and emotional burden on me as a long-term ratepayer. Proceeding with a standard sale of the lot without resolving this boundary dispute invites immediate legal friction under Section 122 of the West Australian Property Law Act of 1969. Furthermore, a standard sale forces the city or an unsuspecting future buyer to absorb thousands of dollars in utility relocation costs for the live NBN lines and Water Corporation's sewer infrastructure currently crossing the vacant lot. My two questions to the Chief Executive Officer are, given that my proposes to purchase this 1.5 metre encroached strip using the latest council-provided independent valuation and noting the 12-month history of this matter, will the administration halt and defer any current plans to clear, develop or dispose of the property so this commercial cash proposal can be properly and expeditiously assessed by council officers?
Mr Acting Chief Executive Officer. Mr Lowe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would acknowledge that Mr Reid's correspondence to the CEO's office has been received, and on that basis, I'll take Mr Reid's question tonight on notice.
Thank you. And my second question, wouldn't settling this boundary issue via a structured private treaty be a far more financially prudent outcome for Belmont ratepayers than initiating a costly, disruptive legal battle over an established walkway?
Mr Acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As before, in light of Mr. Reid's correspondence, we'll take this question on notice.
Thank you.
Move on to Luigi. Rosalind.
Good evening to everyone, and thank you for coming here tonight and asking the chair, Mr. Rossi, and the mayor. I make a request to the planning of the city of Belmont on the 9th of May, and I received a reply today. And I send a reply again and receive another reply I just read now. And was regarding my property and the cul-de-sac where I'm living there. And I asking, as of this day, all views, I ask artificial intelligence co-pilot because they have more understanding of the law in Australia too, in West Australia. Now, the reply I received today, first they excuse the person, the planning, because they reckon they didn't send the email to him directly before. So 2-3 days ago, I resent the email, and in reply to me, they just give to me, the planning say. So today, I received the email with the reply just before the council meeting. Not very helpful. It's happening all the time, this. And coming back to what the issue is, before the 2019, I request possible development of my property, and I have a friend is a person involved in that business. I present some instruction to the council how to do this and that, and they say I can do 2 crossover at the front where is the cul-de-sac. On that later, I will forward to the council because the person emailed me back just a few moments ago and say to pass to him that information because they didn't find. Coming back, the issue is at the cul-de-sac, the road was closed around 50 years ago. I was not here in Australia, but my neighbor, yes, was probably more now. And what they did, they blocked the road at the start of my block. So from Artie Road to Sydenham is a cul-de-sac. The council blocked the road. They made a driveway at that time, very difficult to enter anyway. But in case they develop the block, I need another crossover and driveway on the side where the Shire blocked the road, and they removed the road in practice and the block, so I cannot enter. And my request was, like I saw around in other places in Belmont, where all the cul-de-sac have been provided, I believe, by the council access to the owner, not at the cost of the developer or myself, whatever it is. And I found very strange because artificial intelligence say right the opposite. On the email, very clear, I going point by point, in point out, it was the council make the decision to do that, and so they supposed to be the one fixing up the issue and do. Instead, they say to you, no, it's your problem. It's not, I believe. Anyway, the other point on this.
Sorry, would you like me to ask that question for you?
Yeah, you're not finished because this is the issue.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. So on this email also, on the request, it's a footpath, a big construct on the truncation of my block, because my block is a corner block, and it's 5 Sardi Row, I see them. So you got a truncation of 6 meters, and there has been built a footpath. Now, for what the co-pilot in say, if it was vegetation about 25 mil or 25 centimeters, they shall not build the footpath there because it's obstructing the view, but instead it's been built. Secondly, I believe the people did the footpath did not understand the alignment of the street Sidman where I am, my block, is not in line the street of Sidman where I am to the other side of the Hardy Road. So maybe they make a mistake. The footpath has been reconstructed twice. They removed the footpath that was on the other side, close to the fence of the opposite house. And they have a good idea to go all around the tree, a big tree there, 30 meters tall, with root like this. And the footpath started cracking again after 1 year. So I wondering, the footpath really, my understanding was for artificial intelligence, say is not, it should like no big construct because it was through the vegetation. So I waited for a reply there now. Somebody, the planning, want to talk to me personally, I can come here, no problem. And
so can I ask that question to the acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Lowe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think as Mr. Rosalind alluded to, if he would like to come and meet with the officers, I'm sure they're happy to work through it with him.
Before you go to the next question, we need to extend public question time. We need a mover. Councillor Sessions, seconded by Councillor Harris. We'll need to do a vote. Use the screen on your... Carried. Councillor Ryan? Would you like to... carried unanimously. Thank you. Over to you. Back to you, please. Go ahead.
thank you, ma'am. The second is an issue. First, I report a few times here, not like city council meeting, ordinary council meeting, I report an issue. Before I have a mail to the council, speak with staff here, etc. The issue is still there. And one of the main things is, when I say something here, I can be caught out by people who didn't like water reporting for the people they live in there or build whatever they are. So I wonder if the Shire next time allow me to come and talk personally, not to have to say things here to resolve the issue, because I can be under somebody can be not very nice. Anyway, coming back to the street where I live, you walk down the street, you saw issue there, and I say thank you for that. And the street, I saw something happening. One neighbor starting cleaning up the yard. That's good. I want to report this. I don't know the CEO or any employee here working in the office ever go to the operation center, but I worked before operation center for another shire, so I know about the businesses. What I say is the supervisor and et cetera, a lot of regulation. Now, when you walk the street, you saw the canopy of the tree that was not right, I believe, because after today, another contractor come to cut down thing. And I know 6 months before that was another contractor just did that not done properly. I'm not an expert in vegetation, but I believe I'm asking what the distance it requires from the power line when you clean the tree.
I don't know if we can answer that, but I'll go to the Acting Director of Infrastructure Service, Mr. Boylan, or Mr. Reeves, who's there also.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll defer to the Manager of Parks and Leisure on that. He'll be able to.
There's no battery there. We'll take it on notice. There's no battery there.
Okay, I believe it's 1 meter anyway. I work at council, they spend $50,000 on me on training, so a little bit not too. What I say, you pass there, you walk, you must report something you personally, and they cut again. Now the second contractor come and cut, and did probably a better job, but still not finished. I walked just tonight, I can see that. Tranche 3, just on the corner of Belgravia, on the left of Cloverdale, it's a tree. It's too much from there. They just will be going back and getting contract every week to fix the issue. But the supervisors are supervising. If I'm not saying you, sorry, but the thing is, it extending one contractor doing a job that costs thousands of dollars, there should be a supervision after finish the job. Well, I'm wrong.
I can't speak for the contractors, but
Yeah.
what we might do is get the Acting Director of Infrastructure Service, Mr Boylan, to maybe meet you on site, or if that's possible, the Acting CEO, or get a relevant officer maybe to meet with you, and then you can go through those issues. I'll go to the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr Lowe, because I don't have the power to do that, only he has.
Thank you, Mayor. Another question is regarding...
Sorry, I need to see if that's allowed. I can't just make that happen. I don't have that power. Mr Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If Mr. Rosalind would like to contact the city, and the relevant officer will meet Mr. Rosalind accordingly, and
All right, thank you.
what needs to be
Any
resolved.
further questions?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And the issue regarding many people, they don't come here probably to ask questions. It's not because it's the camera, it's because when we asking questions, we know that really, from my experience, I'm not getting a very response I like. Maybe is my opinion. And that is not a question, it's something I say.
The question, sorry.
So, and then I got to the question. I've been told by someone, all the trolley, all around the street are tagged or the Shire doing something about. I wonder how it works, because I work a local operation, so I wonder if it's the ranger who is doing that. Is the Shire doing that, or passing the communications to the shop to go collect, or we have to pay for that too?
I will give you the process for the CEO, because yes, the Rangers are involved. Over to the Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's right. Under the provisions of the local law, the Rangers enforce those provisions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We move on to Paul Hitt.
Before I start, I'd just like to give you a bit of feedback on your electronic hearing assistant devices. They're excellent. In fact, I wish I'd had them when I was a councillor. I'm somewhat bemused by somewhat seeming maybe inflexibility in live streaming. I'm concerned that a person with a disability, or a person severely disfigured, or a person who might be visually impaired, might not wish their physical being to be placed in live streaming into the community. And they've got very serious concerns about this. I think it places them at risk from the less desirable aspects in our society, because then people see them on live streaming and think, okay, he's hearing impaired, he's visually impaired, he's physically impaired, I'll nip around and rob their house, or I'll physically assault them. So when you councillors pass this motion tonight, I would hope that you would take this into consideration, because if you want people to participate and come into council meetings and give them, or let them give you what maybe ask questions, you have to look at what you can do to assist them. Some people don't like to be up in community spaces or talking to the community. You have to take that into account. So when you vote on that tonight, just give that a thought. But my questions are, just of recently, I've reported some fly tipping being dumped, and I've been into now the service counter 5 times. This area runs off down the back of Kemah, McLaughlin Way and Wallace. Now, I understand there's some misgivings whether this is a council piece of land, it's a parkway or a water board situation. Now, if these tyres or the fly tipping that regularly takes place there is not removed, of course more people come and dump more stuff. So could you please sort this issue out? If the council isn't willing to take fly tipping off Watercorp land, fence the park off so they can't fly tip there anymore. I mean, I'd hate to see it, but 5 weeks is a long, well, 5 times coming to the counter over 3 months. It's not a very, desirable outcome.
You raise a very good point, and that shouldn't be happening, but I don't know the rules behind that. Acting Director of Infrastructure Services, do you know the area behind McLaughlin Way?
Off Wallace.
And off Wallace, yes, right.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. I'll have to take that on notice and get some advisement from the team.
Next question, Paul.
Do councillors regularly report fly tipping in their area? Individual councillors, or they don't?
I can't speak for other councillors,
Yep.
but when I see things as I move around the city, because I'm doing quite a bit of extensive door knocking, raising different issues that are coming up for council, I do report things all the time.
And there's sometimes when I report things, the items might be on the verge for a month or 2 months. I can understand 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, when your contractor comes around, but 2 months is a long time for settees and all the rest of the rubbish be sat on the corners of parks.
Can I ask it, when you see that, because normally when I report or anybody reports, or any councillor, they're normally marked with sort of a yellow, black, or they're spray painted the date.
Or tapes put around it as well.
Put around it. So that means we are aware of it and we're waiting for the contractor. Is that always the case, or do you see something
Mostly
different?
that's the case, but they still sit there for 2 months.
Okay, I'll go to the Acting Chief Executive Officer, because I'm really quite surprised 2 months period doesn't normally last. Normally it's sort of a set time. Every few weeks they come around. That's what I was told.
I can give you the position. It's the part that goes from Hardy Road through to Kema Street, opposite Centenary Park. There's been a settee and rubbish on the corner there for 2 months now.
Well, that's interesting. Acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr Lowe, because I'm really on about improving the look of our city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure the acting director has taken note of that and will attend to it accordingly. But I do thank Mr. Hitt for reporting it. And if there are instances where you're not satisfied that it's been addressed in a timely manner, you can ask the staff to escalate the matter for you to be looked into.
Well, the issue of the tyres, I've been in five times and this morning. That hasn't been resolved, so I'll leave it up to you.
We go to Janet G.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. I've got 3 questions. The first one is, will the Mayor and each councillor consider the residents they represent and remove live streaming of their faces tonight?
I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but I'll listen to the debate. Thank you. Next question.
If the Mayor and councillors vote to keep filming the residents and the gallery, will the Mayor and councillors agree that they do not represent the interests of all the residents?
I find that a little bit offensive, and I will not be supporting that. That's not appropriate to say that. Thank you. Your next question?
My next question is, when we're doing these multi-storey buildings, do we keep a check on how they're being built? I just still have concerns about Abernethy Road and the NDIS building that's almost, I would imagine, 70% completed near Fulham Street. It is so close to the footpath that the end house would never ever be able to have an ambulance down to it because there's no slip road going to be able to go in front of that building or near it. And then if that's the case for that one, you've approved one further up towards Gabriel Street. So if you're not keeping an eye on that one, what is the one there going to be like? It's going to be the vote for the path for the ambulances to go along in the future down there is never ever going to happen with these buildings.
Go to the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy for the Acting Director, Development and Communities to add to anything, but I would say that any development would occur in accordance with the approved plans, and there's avenues for enforcement if development does not occur in accordance with approved plans.
I'd like to just ask one more question, if I may. Are these buildings going to have big bins, or are they going to have individual bins? And if they're going to have individual bins, where the hell are they going to put them to get collected?
I don't know if we can answer that tonight, but I'll go to the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the development assessment, there is a review of the waste collection arrangements for every development. So I would say there is a suitable waste and bin collection and storage arrangement.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The end of public question time. Close it at 7:26 p.m. 6.1, matrix of the agenda briefing forum held the 19th of May. Are there any questions on the matrix? May I have a move and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Sessions, seconded by Councillor Harris. Need to go to vote. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. I've got 2, 1, carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to the ordinary council meeting held on the 28th of April 2026. Any questions on the minutes? May I have a move and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Sakula, seconded by Councillor Kuljitsky. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Councillor Harris. Are you voting in the affirmative or carry unanimously? Thank you. Number 7, questions by members of which due notice has been given. There is none. Response to questions taken on notice. There are none. Questions by members without notice. New business of an urgent nature approved by the presiding member or by decision. Is there any new business of urgent nature? There is none. Business adjourned from the previous meeting. There is none. The Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee held on the 18th of May. Are there any questions on the minutes? May I have a move and a second for the minutes for the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 18th of May be received and noted. Moved by Councillor Kuljitsky, seconded by Councillor Davis. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Carried unanimously. Now we move to reports of administration. I'll go through each one. Some have already been withdrawn. 12.1, Draft Local Planning Scheme. Councillor Kuljitsky. Asset Management Strategy for 2026 to 2031. 12.3, Active Recreation Strategy. Oh no, you've already got it, Councillor Harris. 12.4, Statutory Review Delegation Register. Council Policy Review 2025, Councillor Harris. Council Policy Review Environmental Purchasing Policy, Councillor Harris. Urban Forest Policy, Council Policy Review, Councillor Davis. Council Policy Review, live streaming policy, Councillor Harris. Accounts for payments. Monthly financial report for April. No. So, with the exception of 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.5, 12.7 and 12.8 that have been withdrawn, and 12.6 has also been withdrawn. May I have a move and a second to adopt the balance of the reports en bloc with absolute majority decision, with the exception of those items that I read out: 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.5, 12.6, 12.7, 12.8. Moved by Councillor Sekula, seconded by Councillor Sessions. Use the buttons on your microphone screen. Carried unanimously. Thank you. For those people present in the gallery, please note that those items that have not been withdrawn have now been adopted by Council. You're welcome to stay and observe the remainder of tonight's proceedings, or you may wish to leave when convenient. As outlined previously, please do not rely on any Council decision until formal notification has been received in writing. Thank you. We move to 12.1. Councillor Kujitsky, over to you. And I need a seconder. Councillor Harris. Councillor Sessions is leaving the room. Councillor Kujitsky.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I'm just moving the amended officer recommendation concerning this item, just to speak to it and to allow other council members to discuss this item. The local planning scheme that we currently have in place has served the city for the last 15 years, and a lot of changes occurred in the built environment in that time. Council has provided considerable input into the development of the scheme through adoption of the draft local housing strategy and a draft local planning strategy at the March 2025 OCM. This included the amendment that I moved for the investigation of a precinct structure plan that covered an undeveloped land portion adjacent to Nanning Place and surrounds to promote proper planning that was appreciative of the environmental considerations, particularly due to the proximity to the Swan River. Although this approach was not supported by the West Australian Planning Commission, I'm glad to see the fundamentals of that concept incorporated into this draft local planning scheme that we have here tonight, and they'll be advertised and put to community consultation should it be supported. The new local planning scheme deserves to be put forward for advertising. Although there are minor points that might deserve further investigation, it is pleasing to see that measures to support more sustainable development may soon become a reality in Belmont once this process is complete. This will set us up for success in the years ahead as we move forward as a forward-thinking inner suburban local government. I've previously brought up the issue of minimum density requirements in view of community feedback concerning the topology of the built environment, leading to potentially unfavourable planning outcomes. Although flexible zonings have now been eliminated from this local planning scheme, the prevailing potential issue of underdevelopment in the higher zoned land remains. In saying this, I accept the advice provided by officers concerning this. What we ought to be proud of as a council is that through careful planning, we have been able to preserve largely our low-density residential R10 and R20 land. This is a great achievement, allowing residents choice of low-density housing through to high-density apartment living in a convenient central location close to the CBD, river and airport. I commend the work by officers and look forward to the community's input on this new local planning scheme.
Thank you very much. Would the seconder like to speak? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to second what Councillor Korchitsky has said and just congratulate the planning team on a huge amount of work that's gone into this document so far, and looking forward to the community's input on what they think of it. Thank you.
Anybody else wishes to speak on this side? No. On this side? No further contact? No further contact? I wish to speak on it. Tonight, we're considering a significant milestone for the future of our city. As Council resolves whether to adopt the draft City of Belmont local planning scheme for public consultation and referral to the West Australian Planning Commission for consent to advertise. This draft scheme represents years of work by officers and Council, balancing growth, livability and long-term character of our community. A key feature of the scheme is the protection of existing R20 family residential areas, helping preserve the character and stability of our neighbourhoods due to the increase that will occur around the train station and what has already occurred at the Springs. As a councillor and now as mayor, protecting the R20 areas has always been important to me because they are the heart of our many communities here. We've upscaled shopping precincts to allow redevelopment to occur if landowners wish, so the intent and zones remain largely consistent with LPS 15 and only subject to several area-specific changes. Some of these changes being land surrounding activity centres to support the viability and function of activity centres and align with SPP 4.2 dwelling density allocations. Targeted increases to density coding are proposed on land immediately surrounding selected centres, some of them being the Belmont Town Centre, targeted increase immediately opposite the centre to R160. Kooyong Road Neighbourhood Centre, increase select sites adjacent to the centre from R2040 to R60. The intent is clear: to support well-planned growth in right locations, while protecting the suburban character and lifestyle valued by many of our residents. Many of the proposed changes are also necessary to align with the requirements of the West Australian Planning Commission. I also acknowledge there are still areas to address in the future, such as development along Great Eastern Highway, but officers have heard us and studies will be undertaken. I believe the scheme strikes an important balance. It's a win for families and for the future of our city, protecting the character of our suburbs, responding to the changing needs of our community, and still allowing for appropriate growth and investment. I'm optimistic that the WAPC will recognise the balanced approach Council and our officers have worked hard to achieve. Accordingly, I recommend that the Council endorse the draft local planning scheme for the purpose of seeking the consent of the WAPC to advertise the scheme for public comment. Thank you. I now move back to the mover.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. No further comments.
Please use the buttons in the microphone screen to vote. Carried unanimously, 7 votes to 0. Can someone please invite Councillor Sessions back? We now move to 12.2. Councillor Harris.
Do we need a seconder, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to pull this out because I think this is the best example of a strategy that I've seen presented to Council. We have before us a measurable target, a set of clear actions we will take to reach that target, and a timeline of when those actions should be taken. With that combination, I think we have a strategy that's very likely to be effective.
So just to get clarification, you're moving the motion as printed?
Yes, moving as written.
That's what I need to hear. Thank you. So keep on going.
Yep. So our asset management processes are important to make sure that we have a good handle on the state of our assets, from roads and paths to community infrastructure and drainage. Our current audited state of these processes is assessed as basic, but we want them at intermediate, which appears to be an attainable goal. A future audit to be completed within the 5-year life of the strategy will show that progress, and we will know clearly whether we hit that goal. The actions identified are clear and objective. They will either be completed or not. And combined with the timeline in the report attached, we will be able to know if we're on track. I did have concerns earlier about the Asset Management Steering Committee, which is described in various parts of the report as having a strategic role rather than operational. But after some clarification, I'm happy that that is more managerial and technical, and so I'm happy to have the strategy go forward without elected members being part of that. That said, a strategy like this is what council needs to do its oversight and accountability roles, a clear definition of success, actions, and timeline to get what the community needs done. So I look forward to the progress on this one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Go to the seconder, Councillor Sessions.
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I support all of that and have nothing to add.
Anybody else wishes to speak on the matter? No, I go back to the mover.
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Put it to a vote. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Councillor Ryan. Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to 12.3, Active Recreation Strategy. Councillor Harris. I need a seconder. Did you have your hand up? All right. Councillor Sakula is first. Okay, go ahead. What is it? Could you use the microphone so we can't hear?
I'd like to make a disclosure of interest of impartiality for item 12.3, as I am the secretary of the Ascot Eagles Junior club, and I've been part of the cricket club now for 3 years in a voluntary role.
Okay, so you wish to stay in the room?
Stay for the
okay,
item,
so you might like to fill it in afterwards. Thank you for us.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go to Councillor Harris.
Thank you. So I've got an alternative motion for this one, which hopefully will be coming up on the screen. Very good. It just tacks on to the end after endorsing and authorising the CEO to make minor changes, that once the Active Recreation Strategies implementation plan is finalised, the Chief Executive Officer is requested to present to Council the plan at an information forum, including targets, performance measures and proposed timelines. So the reasons for that are that for Council to have oversight and to provide accountability for the strategy, we must know what we're trying to achieve and how it will be measured. A lack of council accountability would place the effectiveness of the strategy at risk, including our ability to achieve any specified goals. As council is also responsible for the budget, knowing what actions are proposed allows for consideration of those actions when considering what is included or excluded in the budget process. Can I continue on? Thank you. So in this document, we've laid out why this area is important and what the community's current levels of activity are. My concern is that when it comes to actions and targets, we don't know what they are. There are actions listed on page 309 to 311 in the strategy, but these are not measurable and appear to amount to a continuation of our current approach. Without specific actions like upgrading Facility X or running a certain number of community sporting programs, I can't see the possibility of accountability for getting those actions done. Notably on page 309, these are more correctly referred to as strategies rather than key actions. On targets, we've noted the successes of the previous strategy, an increase in participation among juniors and seniors, certain level of grant funding and workshops to assist local sporting groups. We could very easily have targets in these areas in this strategy to show what the city expects to be achievable and what council expects to come out of this strategy, but we don't. Instead, any targets and objective actions are to be included in an implementation plan, which is, I believe, not expected to be approved or visible to council, and certainly not visible and accountable to the community. I think that is a mistake. we can be clear on what we want and expect to achieve, rather than leaving that entirely to officers. As a partial remedy to this, I suggest that once the implementation plan is complete, then it gets presented to Council. This lets Council know what we're aiming at and what we mean to get done in that time. That level of transparency and accountability is crucial for Council to know whether we're adequately providing resources for the strategy during the budgeting process. Now, I understand the need for our strategies to not get stuck in the weeds. They do need to be somewhat high level, but a high level strategy does not need to be so high that we don't know what we're aiming at and what we're trying to get done. So I would support this document if it were called a statement of intent or something similar, but as a strategy, I think we need to make sure that we're keeping goals and actions clearly defined to make it meaningful. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would the second like to speak? Councillor Sikora? No? No? Side, go ahead. Councillor Sessions?
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I'm just going to move that slightly. I don't support this alternative motion because our role concerns what we're doing and why, and the role of officers is to handle the when and the how. An information forum approximately 12 months into the plan would be great so we can see if the strategic targets are being met, but I don't believe we need the inner workings of how they will be met at this stage. If Councillor Harris would consider amending this request to an information forum updating us on the progress of targets once the plan has been underway for some time, then I'd support that.
Thank you. Anybody on this side wishes to speak? Councillor Day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm quite satisfied with receiving the director's reports regarding the infrastructure, the monthly reports. If I have any questions, I can always send emails, ask, but I just think tying up more times information forums on and duplicating what I think is a duplication of work more times in meetings when we have it presented to us in reports. I'm quite satisfied with that, so I won't be supporting your motion.
Else wishes to speak either side? Councillor Kujitsky.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I acknowledge the premise of Councillor Harris's alternative motion in wishing to promote good governance, accountability and reinforce Council's oversight role. In fact, to an extent, what is suggested is what a board would normally undertake in private enterprise, to set a strategy and monitor the work of management in executing that strategy. However, the state government, through the Local Government Act reform process, has, through simple reading of the revised Act and reinforced by independent advice, confirmed that there is to be complete separation between the strategic work of Council and the operational work by management. Unfortunately, this means the effectiveness of Council to act as a board is limited and comes at the expense of good governance. We have a real catch-22 here. A Council that should have an oversight role, but that is limited in the statutory obligations placed on elected members. It is in this context that I will not be supporting this alternative motion.
Anybody else wishes to speak? Councillor Ryan? Your microphone, please. Thank you.
I don't support Councillor Harris's motion at this stage.
Thank you. Nobody else wishes to speak? I'll speak very briefly. Possibly I misunderstood the intent of the motion because a number of these matters are linked to funding and delivery constraints, where planning can be undertaken, but in reality outcomes are not always fully within our control. I believe it is visible. We already receive a significant amount of information through divisional reports and further detail through the CEO review processes. However, I do see value, as what Councillor Sessions also was down the same track as me, value in a formal annual update being provided at an information forum. But that would be up to the mover to modify his motion. That would be my preferred approach. But Councillor Kujitsky raises a very good point. With the reforms and what the reforms are saying, the separation is going to get greater. So You've really raised a very important point, Councillor Kujitsky. Over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I'd like to respond to a couple of the points before putting it back to the vote. I think I'll leave my alternative motion as is rather than changing it. But first to note that if we get an update on how we're going on meeting targets, then I think that is difficult when the targets themselves haven't been defined. It might be a certain level of participation in sporting groups, but if we don't know what specific number we're aiming for, then that does become difficult. And while we do get updates on what actions have been done, if something is on the implementation plan but is not done, then we don't necessarily get told that. And that part does worry me. And while there is an absolutely critical distinction between the strategic and operational role, I think it's important that Council at least have information about what actions are being taken so that we can keep the accountability role in check. Because if we can't keep track of what things are getting done, then we can't do that accountability. And information about operational matters is not the same as getting involved and laying the bricks or driving the trucks ourselves. There is a distinction there that I think is important. And finally, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned the funding and delivery constraints, and that is very true. Part of that is our own constraints, what we're allocating funding to in the budget. And if we don't know what is in these implementation plans to be funded, then we might be accidentally creating a constraint on failing to provide funding to things that are in this strategy. So that's why my concern was there, but happy to put it to the vote and leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. The alternative motion, councillor motion, is lost. I need someone to, Councillor Sessions, you'll be moving the officer recommendation, seconded by Councillor Sakula. Over to you, Councillor Sessions.
Nothing further to add. I support the motion as printed.
Councillor Sakula.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing further to add as well. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Harris.
Thank you. I'll be voting against, as I think the strategy could be improved with the additions I've discussed. Thank you.
Anybody else wishes to speak for? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I support the motion as put by Councillor Sessions.
Back to Councillor Sessions? No? Put it to the vote. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. Carried 7 votes to 1. Thank you. Councillor Harris, Council Policy Review 2025. Over to you, sir. Need a seconder, Councillor Sessions.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I've got an alternative motion which is up on the screen now, which approves the 20 or so policies that we had in the item and adds this additional one on the end to request the Chief Executive Officer to draft a policy review framework to be presented to Council for approval before the 2027 Ordinary Council elections. That includes a 2-year schedule of policy reviews provided to Council in advance and a limit of 6 policies to be presented beg pardon, to be presented for renewal, modification, initiation or removal per ordinary council meeting over that 2-year period. So my reasons for that are that the presentation of 20 or more policies in a single agenda item reduces the discussion of each policy during consideration by council. The input of new councillors is very limited due to the likelihood of being overwhelmed when very new to the position. A discussion of a large number causes only the most salient attention-grabbing policies to be carefully examined, and while many more are not given sufficient scrutiny. And without the appropriate spacing of policy reviews, policies may not be as optimal as they could otherwise be. The implementation of a proposed policy review framework is deferred in this item to follow the next ordinary council elections to allow sufficient time for the administration to implement the policy review system. Continue if that's all right. So yeah, our current approach to reviewing council policies is, I believe, cumbersome and does not promote sufficient focused discussion on each of these policies. We have 20 in this particular item. I'm hoping that having gone through the somewhat tumultuous process of this item coming to this chamber, then being procedural motion to an information forum, then splitting, modifying and bringing back to council, that we have seen that, and I think we can do better. Looking at our neighbours for other policy review systems, I've seen a few approaches for reviewing these policies that might be applicable. The best practice might be Bayswater's approach, which involves a committee of councillors reviewing batches of policies on a quarterly basis, then recommending changes in concert with officers, having those small batches of 4 to 6 policies come to council for approval. An alternative is to do away with the committee to make it simpler, but provide a 2-year schedule of when each policy will be up for review, then bringing a handful at a time. I've gone with that option as it appears to be the simplest to implement. Before I came to council, I understand the previous system was to put all council policies forward as one very large bunch, 50 or more in one agenda item. The rationale is to ensure that newly elected councillors have the chance to change and approve the policies as they are council responsibility. The fault with that system, aside from the chaotic discussion that was likely to ensue when multiple councillors had multiple concerns with multiple policies, was that newly elected councillors have barely got the hang of getting an agenda and knowing the difference between a policy and a scheme, and expecting quality input in the first couple of months of learning the ropes on council is too much. I'm glad that we've split this into 2, from 50 plus down to 20 plus, but I think this is still extremely clumsy. I think we have a serviceable set of policies here to approve, but have we found best practice for each? Are there no more good examples of alternatives to compare to? I do doubt that. So I've proposed that we change the policy review system to spread the consideration out and allow more focused consideration of council policies over the course of the 2 years between elections. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sessions, the seconder.
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I actually support this motion by Councillor Harris, and I did propose something very similar in January last year myself. I see 2 problems with addressing policies in bulk, which I think have pretty much been covered anyway by Councillor Harris. Firstly, that it's a significant amount of reading on top of other agenda items that we already have. And secondly, when councillors wish to amend multiple different policies in one item, we only actually get to hear the first alternative motion that's submitted. As we've seen with this tranche now, it's administratively cleaner to address them as individual items. And I understand that means multiple reports, but the reports themselves should not actually be any longer than they are as a bulk item to council. So I'd like to see this go ahead.
Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Go ahead, Councillor Wojcicki.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. Based on internal discussions, I think there is limited appetite of council for the need to break up council policy review into too many tranches. 2 tranches is already potentially too many, especially when council can resolve and take out certain policies for further interrogation or for an ad hoc review. As a decision-making body, we ought to be able to devote the considerable amount of time and intellect to be able to handle such information as it comes before us and in a timely manner. Items such as this should not drag out without resolution.
Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll speak against Councillor Harris's motion, just because I think this has worked really well, what we've done in the 2 tranches. I do. I've had sufficient time to read through everything, ask questions. We've had meetings, we've gone back and forth, we've had more meetings, and that is that word, drag it out. So this has gone on for probably, I think, 9 months, is it? And I think you need to just end it at some point. So I feel really comfortable with everything I have in front of me. I've had a good read of it. I've diluted it. I've had officers. I've spoken to officers, asked for more information, reports, etc. I think doing it over 6, 7, 8 months is sufficient, but over 2 years, I don't think I think, and having a working committee or a review committee with just some councillors, or I just don't think that's a good idea. So it's there for everybody to read over a few months, ask questions, get feedback, make amendments, and I feel really comfortable with what's in front of me tonight. So thank you.
Wish to speak for or against? Councillor Sekola.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I totally understand what Councillor Harris has said, and I agree with quite a lot of what he has said, but I do believe that there is no perfect storm here. There is no perfect solution on how to manage this process that we go through every few years. And irrespective of which local government authority that you go to look at an example of a practice that we could apply, there are a range of issues that are attached to those local government authorities in the way they deal with this. I think we've improved upon the process that we've used over the past 8 years that I've been on council. I believe that dividing the 52 documents into 2 lots has been an improvement and has enabled us to interrogate the content of each one fairly well. There is, as always, an opportunity to improve and streamline things, but we have a framework that's in place that works in a relatively effective way given the time frame that we have in order to address these issues. So I will be voting against this motion, Your Worship. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I've read everything and I'm very happy with it the way it is at the present time. As councillors, we're all entitled to an opinion. My opinion differs from Councillor Harris, so I'll be voting against the motion.
Thank you. If there's nobody else, I'll speak also briefly. I don't support the proposal to divide policies into groups of 6 and extend their consideration over a 2-year period. From my perspective, we've already invested a significant amount of time this year working through these matters in detail, supported by ABFs and information forums throughout the process. By way of example, item 12.4, the statutory review delegation register, was 136 pages in length. That came out 2 weeks ago for us. I found it a substantial undertaking to work through it properly, reviewing track changes and understanding the implications. That's not a criticism, it's simply the reality of the responsibility that we carry as elected members. I don't hear suggestions that documents of this nature, such as the register, the delegation register, be routinely broken into smaller sections. I set the time aside to work through the material carefully and thoroughly. It's part of our role, and certainly part of mine as an elected member. I'd make the same point in relation to the draft local planning scheme. This is one of our most significant documents before us. It's been developed over many years through the work of officers and council, and will help shape the future form of our city for generations to come. These matters do not simply arrive at a council meeting. They progress through an information forum and ABFs, where elected members are kept informed throughout the process. I don't believe the community expects us to be continually reviewing policies throughout the year. Rather, they expect us to make considered decisions, focus our attention on matters that have meaningful impact on our community. With item 12.1 on tonight's agenda, the scheme as one example, which I believe we're already successfully doing as a council. We need to ensure we don't lose sight of the broader picture. And so I won't be supporting this motion. Thank you. Back to the mover.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. As ever, I've got a few notes to respond to a few points made. I'd just note that my alternative is not seeking to get to perfection in policy reviews. I think this would be an improvement, and I think it would end up being more balanced discussion on a per policy basis. Also noting that I am not proposing a committee for reviewing the policies. That was simply something I saw at Bayswater and have proposed something different. And while we have put in time so far this year, I'm also not seeking to have continued time this year on the policy reviews, looking to approve these policies, but just set up a different process for following the next elections. And the last thing I'd just note, two last things. I'm not aware of any other local government that approves policies in this bulk manner. It doesn't seem to be a widely adopted practice. I don't think it is a good practice, and that the policies are essentially expressions of the will of council. And so being sure that we are absolutely happy with what will is being expressed and that it is the best form that it can be, I think is one of the really critical roles of council, which is why I've proposed a review system like this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on the screen. The alternative motion by the councillor is lost. 5 votes to 3. Thank you. Need to record that. You've got that? We need, thank you, Councillor Sessions, go ahead. Seconded by Councillor Cooler. Councillor Sessions, go ahead.
Just move as printed, Mayor Rossi.
Councillor Sakula.
I've got nothing to add, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak on it? Councillor Sessions, sorry?
Nothing to add, Mayor Rossi.
Thank you. The seconder wish to speak on it? No. Anybody wish to speak for or against? No. I'll just simply say that breaking into 2 amounts, I think is workable. I was happy with 1 amount because I actually do the reading, and I think you pull out the ones to the side that concerns you, and then they're the ones you focus on. So, and we've spent a lot of time this year. I think we've done well. I think we've done very well. That's my point of view anyway. Move back to the mover. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. Just to add to that, I think we've spent a lot of time on it because we couldn't get it right and it had to keep going back to IF. But I move this as printed.
Thank you. Please use the screen of your microphone. Councillor Ryan, carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to 12.6, the environmental purchasing policy. Councillor Harris, I need a seconder. Councillor Sessions. Over to you, Councillor Harris.
We do look similar. Thank you, Mayor Rossi. So I have proposed an alternative where one minor change is put in, that clause 4A is changed to when assessing goods and or services as part of any procurement process, the following criteria will be considered alongside operational performance. So previously that just said should be considered. My reasons being it's important for the policy to be effective and meaningful, which requires the language to affirm that consideration will be made to environmentally conscious options. And the current language makes that optional, which makes the policy not as effective at achieving its goals. And yeah, that's all I need to say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The second wish to speak?
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I support the amended motion as printed.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for or against? Councillor Kujitsky.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I was comfortable with the wording of this policy as it was contained in the agenda papers, as it strikes a balance between sound environmental, social and financial outcomes. Given that this wording change includes the word will, it doesn't have a substantial differential to the intent of the original policy that was presented to us, so I'll be supporting this.
Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Then I'll just speak briefly. I understand where the change to the policy comes from, and we all want great environmental outcomes for the city. However, I support a balanced approach for the environmental purchasing policy. In my view, that balance is what the community expects of us. Informed decisions that take account of environmental outcomes, but also real-world costs and implications for residents. The phrase such as the city will, and the teacher in me comes out and says will means commit to or be definite, can also unintentionally limit flexibility and scope and may increase costs that ultimately flow through to residents or reduce purchasing power. From what I've heard to date, officers are already aware of these issues and are applying sound, cost-effective judgment in their approach. So I'm happy with the existing wording and I won't be supporting it. Thank you. Back to the mover.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. Just wanted to note that the will change in this clause is simply to that the environmental criteria will be considered, rather than dictating any particular purchasing outcome, rather than previously, which was it should be considered, which may end up with it not being considered at all from a reading of the policy language. But thank you and happy to leave it there.
Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microphone screen. I'll be voting in the negative. Thank you. So it is lost. The alternative councillor motion is lost. Need a mover. Moved by Councillor Kujitsky, seconded by Councillor Davis. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. As I mentioned, I'm comfortable with the wording of the policy as it was presented in the agenda documents before us. The document does strike a balance between sound environmental, social and financial outcomes.
Councillor Davis? No? Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Back to the mover.
No further input, thank you.
Please use the buttons on your microphone screen to vote. Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to 12.7, Urban Forest Policy. Councillor Davis. Councillor Sakula.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to amend this policy, the urban forest policy, delete A, clause 1D be deleted and replaced with where an objection to the planting of a verge tree is received from an adjacent property owner, the city will engage with the property owner to explain the benefits of a verge tree planting. However, if the objection cannot be resolved through this consultation, the city will not proceed with the planting at this location. Reason being is every verge tree planting year, I have been in the past, I wouldn't say inundated, but I get a lot of phone calls from some angry residents wanting the tree removed because they didn't receive the correspondence or they don't want one, simply don't want one. And it causes I feel a lot of anxiety within these residents, and they simply don't want one and they want somebody to listen to. So I do feel that they should have an option if they want to opt out. Having said that, I do believe the city has improved with the correspondence. I do believe, I can tell you, I've probably had half the amount of residents message me over this planting season, wanting their tree removed than the season before. So obviously we are improving with correspondence and getting the information from the residents before we plant the tree. I think we've only had to pull out a couple of verge trees because they didn't get the correspondence. So I think just rewording the original clause from A to B just gives us a little bit of leeway and more resident satisfaction, and sort of protects not protects us, but we are listening to the residents and assisting them in what they want. So my reasons here, I haven't actually read them, but I did give you some backlog there. So I think it's important to acknowledge that residents are encouraged to maintain the verges adjoining their properties, and the majority take considerable pride in maintaining their properties, including the verge, an approach that seeks to work collaboratively with residents, particularly where there is a support for verge tree planting, is likely to result in the ongoing care, improvement, establishment outcomes and greater community ownership of verge trees. However, this does give some flexibility to residents. Thank you.
Councillor Sakula.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Look, this is a very vexed issue, and I mean, obviously, we all want to improve the number of trees that are in our local government area, and this has occurred over the last 8 years. I think it's important to listen to what the residents are saying in this space. I think, or I feel that clause 1D, the way it's written at the moment, is quite harsh, and I think there's an opportunity to actually soften the text in that space. I think the replacement text gives a more open, it's a more relaxed, it's a more engaging approach to have the discussion around whether a resident would like a tree or not. And I think it's an opportunity to bring the residents along on the journey of improving the number of trees. So I think the wording itself is a positive and a value add to trying to improve the situation that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sakula. Anybody else wish to speak for? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Now, I agree with Councillor Davis. I've had many complaints about people in Eastwood are complaining about trees that are getting put in, that they haven't been told, they just appear, and I'm getting them all the time, and I have let the council know, or that I am getting the complaints, and I think the way that Councillor Davis has said it probably should be rewritten is the way to go.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Anybody else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Sessions, then Councillor Harris.
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I've actually only ever had 2 complaints in my almost 5 years about trees. However, I do support this. I think we should always work with the residents and listen to them. But my concerns really lie with those that don't object until a tree has been planted and then request removal. Not only does this cost more to ratepayers, it also adds an increased risk to the health of the tree.
Councillor Harris, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I'm going to speak against the alternative. The Verge Tree program has been a successful and major part of our tree canopy efforts, and there's good credit due to the city's Parks and Environment team on that one. The fact that residents can opt out of tree planting on the Verge is good, and the receptiveness that staff have shown to residents who've requested that is admirable. The officer proposed urban forest policy changes, the upper text up here, I think should be left unchanged. They outline the high standards the city has on when we should not plant a verge tree and encourage residents to think carefully when considering opting out. This is a good policy. This combined with retaining the officer flexibility and and our willingness to back off if people are insisting on not having a verge tree is a good system, and I think it is a good balance, and so I would suggest not adopting this alternative and moving forward with the officer recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Gurjitsky.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. The urban forest policy is a crucial council policy. Together with the urban forest strategy, it sets expectations of council as the delivery of council's vision of a greener and healthier Belmont. Although this alternative motion looks to find a compromise, it sets the wrong tone and for the appeasement of a minority. This motion is dismissive of the extensive community consultation undertaken as part of the urban forest strategy development. During this consultation, one of the top 5 pieces of feedback that the community provided was that it would like to see council strengthen its position on street tree plantings. Moreover, this motion goes against the intent of council when it resolved to commit to an absolute increase in canopy on land under the city's control. City officers already work collaboratively with community to accommodate needs and preferences. Therefore, if supported by council, this motion will create a misalignment between our strategic vision and the operational delivery on the ground. We ought to support our officers in providing a clear direction through a policy that can be depended upon by all. Upon information provided by management, if outlined that all trees planted each year, only 10% of plantings attracted a negative reaction from adjacent residents. Of those, the city's officers work proactively with those residents to find an amicable solution to any reservations, be it a species selection change, positioning change, etc. This means that only a subset of the 10% were in complete objection to a street tree planting. Therefore, why should we be considering a change to this policy when over 90% of our residents support the city's street tree planting efforts? As a consequence, I will not be supporting this alternative motion.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? No, then I'll speak briefly. For me, while there's still opportunities to plant trees on council land, such as in parks and cul-de-sacs, I'm comfortable supporting the alternative motion. From the residents who contact me, there are generally 2 groups. The first are house-proud individuals who already maintain their gardens and verges to a high standard. The second are residents on narrow blocks with limited verge space, often balancing the needs of growing families, children and additional cars. Remembering that we already have our Trees for Residents program in place, for the past few years we've been providing residents with free trees to plant on their private property. Following my motion, that offer now increases by an additional tree each year over a 5-year period. This year, residents are eligible for 2 free trees. The expanded program gives residents greater flexibility and support to plant trees where it best suits their property and circumstances. Knowing this approach is in place, I feel comfortable supporting the alternative motion, knowing that we are greening Belmont. Thank you. Back to the mover.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to touch base on what Councillor Kulczycki said with the the 10% of homeowners or residents that have a tree, a verge tree, and decide that they want to change the tree or they want it pulled out or they don't want one. Just with this clause that was put into Clause A, which is going to be deleted, this was never in the policy. This was something that the officers have added for us to review for this year's policy. So that's the reason why those residents have been able to do that, because that clause was never in there. So this clause that has been put in is new, never been put in there before, and is something that the officers have introduced for this year, for ongoing futures. So that's why we've had that flexibility, and that's why I want to keep it going. So that's why I want to remove that clause and put my clause in, because I want the people to still have that flexibility, that 10% if they want to change the tree or remove it. So I just wanted to make that clear, that this clause, or AD, has never ever been part of the policy previously. Thank you.
Please use the buttons on your micro screen. The alternative councillor motion is carried, 6 votes to 2. We move to council policy review, live stream policy. Councillor Harris, need a seconder. Councillor Sessions, over to you.
Yes, I have an alternative motion on this one. Hopefully it's coming up. No rush. My alternative is that we endorse the policy subject to the following amendments. Firstly, that clause 1 be changed to include agenda briefing forums in the list of council meetings that we live stream. And secondly, that clause 4 in the policy be changed to say members of the public who address the meeting will be recorded on audio, not video, and the audio included in the broadcast when addressing the meeting, and then authorises the CEO to make minor administrative changes. I'll go quickly through the reasons, if I could. I'm also reading them off the screen, pardon me. Firstly, it's standard practice for publicly accessible agenda briefings in WA to be live streamed, especially in Band 1 local governments. Not live streaming the agenda briefings limits the accessibility of those meetings to those who can physically attend on the relevant night. The technology to implement the live streaming is already clearly installed and being in use tonight, and as in can easily be changed in this way. The information received by elected members at agenda briefings is used to make decisions on behalf of the community, and that should also be subject to public accessibility and scrutiny, just like the decisions themselves tonight. State government guidance on live streaming has already made it clear that members of the public need to be heard if participating, but do not necessarily need to be captured on video, not vidya, as I've written there. And being prominently displayed on the live stream discourages public participation in the meetings and reduces public input. I believe the seconder has a suggestion on how to go about this motion. Wondering if I can hand over there.
Well, if you finish speaking.
So I
guess can't you finish
so I believe the seconder would like to propose that we split this into 2 motions and then speak to both of them. If I will have a chance to speak to both of them, then I'm happy to do that.
Let's get some advice. We're going to wake them up now. Hello. So we will break them into 2 and we'll vote on 2 different aspects.
Thank you. So does that mean that I should now speak to the first part?
You need to tell me what you're doing. I have no idea. This is the first time I've heard of it.
Should I be speaking to both of these, or
No, I need
get
to know
a seconder for the full motion?
What are you going to speak on? What aspect? I don't know what you've organised with the seconder. Sorry.
The 2 parts being, one, live stream the agenda briefings, and the second part being turn off the camera on the public questioner.
So, okay, so we'll do the first aspect then. We'll do the A, including the agenda briefing forum. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, are we good to go? Thank you.
So I need a second for that one there, so you'll go there. Thank you.
So firstly, our agenda briefings, they are public meetings. We provide public access and encourage people to participate in them, providing their input and submissions and deputations. This is a good thing. We hear relevant information that informs our decisions the following week. Having this meeting be publicly accessible allows people to hear the information we take in beyond the written agenda, reassures them that we are giving due consideration and scrutiny to the items, and thereby gives the community more reason to trust the decision making. However, unlike our ordinary council meetings, we do not live stream them. This means the meetings are only accessible to those who can make it here on the night, which makes it less open than it could be. Childcare, work, disability, and a hectic weeknight schedule prevent people from attending. We have the technology in the room right now to change that. The only record of submissions and deputations that are given during that agenda briefing, including by developers and corporate interests, is the written summary that they provide to the city. What is actually said in the meeting, whether it aligns with that written summary or not, is not recorded for posterity unless a public attendee is an extraordinary note taker. The matrix of the ABF then becomes an incomplete record. We can change that without the expense of verbatim minuting. So most Band 1 local governments have public agenda briefings. Most of those public agenda briefings are live streamed, and I'm not aware of which one other that I believe was noted by officers does similarly to us. I'm suggesting that we go beyond the legal bare minimum, which is streaming ordinary council meetings, and extend this to our other regular public meetings. Thank you.
Second, wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. Yes, so speaking just to this first part, this first motion, I do support live streaming of agenda briefing forums and appreciate that we're not legislated to do it, but it does allow for more engagement and understanding by the residents of agenda items. And it also assists us with our record keeping, if we want to look back.
Wish to speak for or against? Councillor Gujitsky?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I'm just a bit lost as to what we've done per the standing orders.
Splitting.
We are only to consider one substantial motion at a time, so what have we done procedurally? Sorry?
Would you like to speak?
The request was that we actually split, when we go to vote, the motion into parts in accordance with 12.2 of the standing orders. But we're discussing these separately.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Councillor Gujitsky, you wish to speak on the motion?
Yes, I may as well for this component. What I wanted to contemplate for this component of the motion was the following. So agenda briefing forums are intended to provide elected members with the opportunity to receive information, seek clarification, and to test issues prior to ordinary council meetings. It is not a meeting where decisions are made, and personally I find ABFs of limited benefit. Elected members are already briefed through information forums, at ABFs, and through our ordinary council meeting agenda papers. This is in addition to our own research, which could be through questions made directly to management or through independent research. This means information on the same topic could be conveyed at least 3 or 4 times. Despite this view, I acknowledge that ABFs provide benefit for other elected members to explore our agenda papers in a collaborative environment. On that basis, ABFs should not be a public meeting and instead be closed sessions not open to members of the public. Therefore, there is no merit to broadcast a meeting that only requires the attention of elected members for the purpose of their own benefit.
Thank you. Councillor Sikora, go ahead.
Sorry, Your Worship, are you able to answer a question? Go ahead. Okay, I have three, and perhaps if you defer that to the acting CEO, if you can. So just for clarity's sake, because there are different views around an ABF, can I get a legal meaning behind an ABF? So that's the first one.
Be the Manager of Governance and Legal.
So an ABF is effectively a forum, an agenda briefing forum for the benefit of councillors to ask questions of administration.
Okay, and does it have a decision-making function at all?
No.
No. Okay, my second question is, what does the legislation say about live streaming in ABF?
Please.
The regulations are silent on. Sorry, the regulations are silent on this, as is the Act, because an ABF is not considered to be a council meeting for the purposes of the Local Government Act. So an ABF is a forum.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And my third question is, are you able to, I mean, either you, so yourself, Your Worship, are you able to share with the chamber here the number of residents on average that that view the live streaming each OCM?
That I don't know, but obviously
But on average,
one of the officers may know. Manager of Governance Legal, would you be able to say that or take it on notice?
I would have to take that on notice, but we could perhaps...
A rough
we might go to the Director of Corporate and Governance. He's got his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, we tend to have probably anywhere between 10 and 20 people who will tune in for live streaming, and then we'll get a number of people after the event who may tune in to see what happened, if there's something controversial happened, but generally between 10 and 20, and there may be another 20 or 30 or 50 people afterwards over the subsequent weeks.
And supplementary to that, Your Worship, can you please give a specific figure on how many individuals live within our city?
Director of Corporate and Governance, do you have the latest numbers? You do the
just under 50,000.
So out of the 50,000, we have between 10 to 15 individuals on average that would be viewing the live streaming of OCMs, roughly.
That's what the Director of Corporate and Governance has said, but do you wish to speak on the item now?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak for or against? No, then I'll speak very briefly on it. My comments relate specifically, because now we've broken into two, for the proposed live streaming of ABFs. Transparency is already achieved where it matters most at ordinary council meetings, which are publicly live streamed and recorded, and where all formal debate and decision making occurs. Ultimately, that's what residents need to see. And many residents I speak with while door knocking tell me this is where accountability matters most to them. How we vote. And that's tonight at the OCM. Agenda briefing forums is solely designed to provide information, clarification, and allow elected members to ask questions ahead of a formal decision making at the ordinary council meeting. They are not decision-making forums, nor are they intended to reflect the final decisions or decisions. I've often gone into an ABF with one perspective, heard good questions or additional information, and later changed my views. From my experience, perspectives can vary significantly between briefings and the formal council meeting. Members may hear the same information differently, and positions can and do change once debate occurs in the chamber. I've also gone into the chamber and been swayed by debate or perspectives raised by another elected member. If members of the public wish to understand how or why decisions was made, the most accurate record is the debate at the ordinary council meeting, or by contacting a councillor directly to discuss their position. On the matter of public participation, submission and deputation processes are already in place, with forms available so comments can be formally captured and included in the information provided to council. While not compulsory, completing the form helps ensure views are properly recorded, accurately captured and considered as part of the process. While further local government reforms expected from the government, hopefully later this year or more than likely next year, I believe the sensible approach from my perspective is to maintain the current arrangements for now and consider any future changes as part of the broader reform process when it comes out from the state government. Thank you. Back to the mover.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. There's a lot of interesting views expressed in there. Just wanted to quickly respond to some of them. I am concerned that the closing of ABFs has been proposed, as that seems to be not relevant to the matter in front of us. I think the ABFs provide a valuable opportunity for the public to be involved and gain understanding of local government processes, that making this process open and accessible is a good thing, and making it even more accessible would be an even better thing. Also, there is the opportunity, if a resident finds that a decision does affect them and they do have concerns with that decision, often the best discussion of that matter was at the agenda briefing, and only a shortened version of that discussion or perspective is expressed in the ordinary council meeting. I'd note that when the requirement to do live streaming began, many local governments immediately adopted this as part of, adopted ABF streaming along with their ordinary council meeting streaming, and didn't realise that it was even an option to not do that, and haven't looked back since. On the changing of views that can happen in agenda briefings, I think that is a really good thing that happens in public, and allowing people in the community to see how those views are changed as part of those agenda briefings is a valuable thing that we can provide and allow people to experience. And finally, on the forms that are requested for people to fill in agenda briefings, I think the disparity between how little is written in the form and what is said in the meeting could easily be addressed by simply live streaming the meeting so we get all of the words that were said. But thank you for that, Mr. Mayor, and leave it there.
Now, before we actually vote, just want to make sure everyone knows what we're doing. We're doing number 1, A1. That's just highlighted now. That's what's highlighted on the screen. That's what we're solely voting on. I've been asked to break them into 2 parts, so just to ensure everybody knows, we're voting only on the yellow. Everyone clear on that? So we'll move now to a vote. Using the buttons on your screen, do you support this alternative councillor motion? Oh, sorry. I thought I'd pressed it. My apologies. It is lost. We need a mover for the alternate, for the one that's there. We'll go straight to the second part then, okay? Need a mover first? Yourself? Seconder? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. So this one is that members of the public who address the meeting will be recorded on audio, not video, and the audio included in the broadcast when addressing the meeting. I think we should do this because having the camera on the public questioner is unnecessary, unfair, and unwelcoming. Firstly, on unnecessary, I think the Act is vague in its language and to my reading does not specify that both audio and video must be recording the questioner. And I'm not alone in this reading. Many local governments choose to only have members of the public on audio, notably including the City of Perth itself. In case there's doubt on that requirement, we can look to the state government's guide on live streaming, for which Ms Hollins has already stolen my thunder, which is on its website. In that they do say, quote, members of the public do not need to be visible, but do need to be heard if they are participating in the meeting, for example, public question time, end quote. Unless we are saying that neither the City of Perth nor the state government understand the Local Government Act, it is not true to say that we're required to have a camera on the public questioner. If we do have that understanding, we might need to contact the department. As noted by the acting CEO, the policy on this point is up to council to decide. So secondly, the live stream prominence in how it's displayed on screen is unequal and I think unfair. Looking at the live stream, we elected members are unequal in prominence during public question time. Elected members, including the Mayor, are never shown with the level of prominence that the public questioner gets. We don't need to ramp up the pressure on the community member with that level of prominence and the knowledge of just how big they are in the live stream, especially when elected members, even while speaking, are not shown anywhere near as much. My last and most important reason for this change is that we should make this meeting a welcoming place for members of the community who wish to question and advocate to us. It's a big deal for people to come and speak here, and the knowledge that their performance is prominently live streamed on YouTube for 5 years is not a kind thing to add to the pressure of public speaking. We can make this chamber somewhere that the community is welcomed and encouraged to say their piece, and this, I think, is an easy way to help achieve that. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Second to speak, please. Would like to speak?
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I disagree that the camera discourages participation. I don't think we've seen numbers drop at these meetings since we've had the camera in place, and feedback by residents in general in the community has always been positive. I've had 3 Belmont residents contact me to say they do not support it, but many more have said that they love seeing the full meeting on camera. With regards to reduction in attendance, I believe that's related to reduction in planning items before council and not because of the cameras. Anyone unable to be on camera for any reason at all has multiple options for getting questions answered, including phone, email, social media, letter, or an in-person meeting away from the chamber. I think we could consider moving the camera further back so it's not so close up on a single face, but to conclude, I support the officer recommendation on this part and not Councillor Harris's alternative motion.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Aberdeen.
Thanks, Mayor Rossi. I understand. I support Councillor Harris. Actually, I understand and support the transparency in council meeting, including recording full session. However, some of the residents have raised the concern about being recorded. So my understand that local government advised that it's not the mandatory. So why does the city need to record and show the residents during this question and answer time? Can you consider only this time, like not recording only the question and answer time?
That will be decided tonight.
Okay.
By the vote.
Thank you.
Else wishes to speak for or against? Councillor Gurjitsky.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. I'll be speaking against. I've always been a strong advocate for live streaming of the ordinary council meetings, which does provide community members the opportunity to observe public decision making in an open and accessible way, even if they cannot do so in person. I did this by supporting the item that came before council in December 2023 concerning live streaming. At that meeting, council resolved to commence live streaming 6 months before the statutory requirement came into effect. This is definitely a decision we ought to be proud of. Since commencing my first term on council in October 23, we have not observed any noticeable changes in the average number of individuals attending the public gallery from before live streaming commenced to today. Numbers in the gallery increase typically when important items to the community come up on the agenda, and this is predominantly planning and strategy items. The argument that individuals participating in the meeting should not be live streamed via video capture is unfounded on concerns of anonymity. The standing orders require an individual addressing council state their name and address. Individuals who do not wish to engage council at a public meeting can do so via telephone or email. In fact, most residents who contact elected members or officers for that matter do it this way. In preparation for this meeting, I did review my correspondence and telephone notes. And over the last 3 years, 9 individuals have contacted me with negative feedback about the manner in which we conduct live streaming at the city. The most recent estimate of the number of residents in the city of Belmont is 46,890 people. That is, in simpler numbers, 1 in 5,000 people who see the status quo as a problem. As a consequence, I do not support the amendment to the officer recommendation that's been forwarded for consideration tonight.
Anybody else wishes to speak for or against? No. We'll go back to the mover.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. Lots to cover there, but I think I would simply ask that that council consider not just the people who are complaining and asking for this change to be made, but the hypothetical resident out there that we would like to welcome in and encourage to be part of the council decision-making process. We should try to put the most welcoming mat that we possibly can out the front to try and get public participation in local government. And I really do think that this is an unnecessary barrier that that we can do better with. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Voting is now open. Please use the buttons on your microwave screen for the alternative motion. Now, we need to get up on the screen what we're voting on to make sure before we go to vote. Some people are jumping the gun. So, it's part B. Part 1B, so only in yellow. Thank you. Please vote, everybody. It is lost 6 votes to 2. 2 for, 6 against. We now go to the officer recommendation for the whole policy. Mover, Councillor Sessions, seconded by Councillor Davis. Councillor Sessions.
Move as printed, Mayor Rossi, nothing else to add.
Thank you. Wish to speak?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak against or for? No. Back to the mover?
Nothing further, Mayor Rossi.
Thank you. Put to vote. Use the screen on your microphone screen. Councillor Aberdeen, I need you to... So, at 7 votes. Councillor Aberdeen... Right, it's carried 6 votes to 2. Thank you, everybody. Now... 13.1. Are there any requests for leave of absence, Acting CEO? Notice of motion, there are none. Matters for which the meeting may be closed. I now close the meeting in accordance with section 5.234C of the Local Government Act 1995. I have a move and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kula, seconded by Councillor Sessions. Use the buttons on your screen, microphone screen. I need one more vote. One more vote. Councillor Aberdeen. One more vote. Carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Would the IT officer please pause the live stream? Would those... I invite the public back into the meeting. There are none. 14.1, the tender. Provision of cleaning service to council facilities. That council accepts the officer recommendation in relation to this item. Move Councillor Sessions, seconded Councillor Sakula. Carried unanimously. 14.2, management of Belmont Oasis Leisure Centre. That council accepts the officer recommendation in relation to this item. Moved by Councillor Sessions, seconded by Councillor Harris. Carried unanimously. There being no further business to conduct, I thank all those in attendance and close the meeting at 8:59 p.m. A reminder to all elected members to please return all confidential documents to the box in the foyer of the councillor's entrance here at the Civic Centre. And on the way out, please congratulate Mr. Reeves on his award. He stayed.